For years, fans believed Chrissy Lampkin was just the ride-or-die fiancé, but behind closed doors, she was allegedly taking late-night calls from Cameron, while Jim was out chasing checks to keep the family afloat. Now, the son who has remained silent all this time is tearing everything apart. "I watched father remain silent while she tore us apart." That's not a line from a Netflix drama. It's Jim Jones's son talking about Chrissy Lampkin. The voice memo, which was leaked without any filters or script, is heartbreaking and damning. The lies, the betrayal, the nights he heard the arguments, the day he walked in and saw something he was never supposed to see. This isn't reality TV drama anymore. This is real blood, real betrayal, and a son finally sharing the story of his father, who was too broken to say it himself. Stay there, because after you hear what he reveals next, you won't look at Chrissy the same, because she didn't just break his heart. She destroyed everything we were holding together, and he stood there watching her burn it all down. That's not a rumor. It's a voice memo from Jim Jones's son, and it's been making the rounds in every group chat from Harlem to Houston. Hailed as the ride or die, the woman who waited, fought, and stayed, but behind the designer shoes, VH1 edits, and staged reunions, there was a different Chrissy, one who allegedly left broken pieces everywhere she went, including inside her own home. Now, that house of secrets is opening up because Jim Jones's son, who never spoke, is finally speaking. And he's not just talking, he's exposing. Let's go back a few years. People believed that Chrissy was emotionally entangled with Cameron by loyalty rather than blood. There was a messy rumor that was only blog talk. But what if I told you that those rumors were true and that Jim's own son saw the collapse from the front row? I was only a teenager, but I wasn't a fool. I saw the direct messages and how Jim looked at her after learning about it, but he remained silent as if nothing had happened. Now that the internet is on fire, the leak began with a mysterious Instagram story with just white letters on a black background that said, "Have you ever had to act like everything's cool knowing the woman who ruined your childhood is sitting in the next room?" No tags, names, or context, but fans knew. Within 15 minutes, Chrissy was trending once more, but this time it wasn't for a new reality TV comeback. Rather, it was for what people are calling the betrayal of the Harlem house. When blogs attempted to get clarification, they were met with the voice memo, a 47-second clip that featured no music, filters, or edits, just a grown man facing the demons that shaped his childhood. My pops isn't perfect, but I think he just gave up. To fully comprehend the gravity of this story, we must return to the original scandal, as the alleged affair with Cameron wasn't a one-night error. It was a 2-year emotional roller coaster, according to family sources, full of late-night FaceTime, calls, secret hotel meetings when Jim was on tour, and a string of business trips Chrissy allegedly took alone but always in the same cities as Cam. All of this sounded phony to us until an unnamed former Chrissy assistant, let's call her Kesha, came forward. Kesha worked for Chrissy from 2014 to 2016, and when she said she was going to LA to handle a shoot or do fittings, I always had to arrange her flights to wherever Cam was performing. I didn't fighting on the phone. Jim and Chrissy are, according to Kesha. One night, Jim flew out early to surprise Chrissy in Atlanta, and when he walked into her suite, he found Cam's wallet on the nightstand. Not Cam, just the wallet. And Chrissy stood there, stunned and silent. I don't know what happened next, but she me to cancel everything, and the following day, she was crying and shaking, and she left the hotel before sunrise. When this new wave of accusations hit, fans weren't surprised. In fact, many claim they had seen the signs all along. These are just a few fictitious but remarkably realistic-sounding Twitter comment highlights. Jim's son is saying, "What?" In the second part of his leaked voice memo, Jim's son recounts a memory so personal and painful that it's sending shockwaves through the culture. We've all been thinking since 2012 that Chrissy Ben was moving funny dips at baby mama. She played the long game, got the ring, and still dipped on him emotionally. I remember that LHNY reunion and the way she looked at Cam when he showed up unexpectedly. That wasn't a friendly look, and that's when the internet's newest obsession with what actually happened in the Jones household began. My pop said, "You could have told me you didn't have to humiliate me like this," when I was 14 years old and heard them fight through the walls. I didn't comprehend everything, but I knew it was about him and Cam. And she responded, "Jimmy, you were never truly here, and I needed something real." "You were never truly here," that line said. The internet went silent because, whether it's real or not, that's a lasting scar, and now it's public knowledge. After that night, Chrissy stopped sharing family photos. Jim appeared aloof, and the chemistry that fans had once adored gradually faded into awkward silence. The question is still why Jim never publicly addressed the Cameron rumors, not even when Cam sneak-dissed Chrissy in a song that mysteriously vanished from streaming the week after it was released. What does this mean for the Jones family's future? We're going to delve deeper because the next voice memo reveals something even darker that might explain why Jim never defended himself. Fans are now looking back on interviews and saying that the signs were all there. We just didn't want to believe it. One commenter wrote that the most dangerous lies are the ones we tell ourselves just to maintain a picture online. The next voice memo, which was posted anonymously but clearly in Jim's son's voice, dropped at 2:04 a.m., and it changed everything. "I didn't say anything before because my father, but as I watched him deteriorate year after year while she smiled for cameras as if nothing had ever happened, I realized that it wasn't love. It was manipulation. Let that breathe. It's not just about cheating anymore. It's about what happens after betrayal. Gaslighting the illusion because Jim was reportedly falling apart quietly behind closed doors, while Chrissy was out here giving relationship advice on reality shows, building brands, and flipping tables for drama. Guess who was watching the entire time? Then I used to ask him, 'Why don't you leave?' And he would just respond, 'She's all I've got, man.' That stayed with me because he truly thought that she was his only choice. People would frequently inquire as to why Jim had never married Chrissy after all those years. Was it his cold feet, the profession, his personality, or something more profound? She had access to everything: bank info, passwords, contracts. She'd intercept his calls, delete messages, cancel meetings without telling him. There were times Jimmy would show up, read a private direct message leaked to a gossip page by an ex-employee of the Jones family. Jim's son is exposing because he fears that if he lets go, he'll lose not just a partner, but the only structure he's known, no matter how toxic. Imagine growing up in that chaos. If it's true, we're talking about emotional control on a whole new level. This isn't just betrayal. It's chess move by move, piece by piece, until the board has only one king left and he's too exhausted to fight. Another leaked email purportedly from Chrissy's publicist to a television producer says, "Please do not bring up the Cameron rumors during the sit-down." Chrissy is open to discussing the evolution of her relationship with Jim, but the Cam narrative is off-limits. Why would it be off-limits if it was never true? Why would you avoid a ghost unless the most outrageous part is that Cameron is now making fun of himself on his Instagram story? He shared a video of himself from an old Dipset music video standing next to Chrissy, captioning it, "Some memories age like wine." Ghost was real, wearing pink mink and a sneer. It's not looking for Chrissy fans, as they are now resurfacing. A 2016 interview in which Cam was asked about women in the industry, and he smirked. There was no context, no follow-up, just smoke. But the internet, oh, it caught fire within hours. People began recovering old clips, piecing together timelines, comparing lyrics, and dissecting interviews after Archer Camasey went viral. "Some women are loyal to the spotlight, not the man who holds it," he said. In the last seconds of the voice memo, Jim's son states, "She was toxic to us, to the whole family," and right there everything clicked. Isn't just a relationship scandal. This is a family collapse, a years-long emotional erosion covered in lies. Many now believe that simply pivoted. Now that Jim's son is voicing his side, a new narrative is emerging that positions Chrissy as the antagonist rather than the victim. Not to mention the designer clothes and Instagram filters, Chrissy proposed to Jim on national television. She didn't wait for him to pop the question. Instead, she grabbed the spotlight and said, "I got this." At the time, people referred to as an empowering boss move. But now fans are wondering if it was just another tactic to manipulate the story and make the world believe she was the glue while secretly pulling the strings. When Jim didn't accept the proposal right away, we noticed the tension, but we didn't realize the context until now. It wasn't cold feet, it was inner conflict. It was a man torn between love and loyalty, and a son watching everything fall apart. To make matters worse, an alleged audio leak that was once more made anonymously seems to be a recorded phone conversation between Jim and an unnamed male friend. The audio is grainy, but it's clear enough to hear Jim say, "She doesn't even look at me the same. I'm in the crib feeling like a ghost, like I'm in her way." Let that sink in. Chrissy is silent during all of in public, with no tweets, Instagram posts, denials, or damage control. She has 10 years of experience spinning stories, from hip-hop and fashion deals to love, and she always knows how to make herself appear like the misunderstood queen. However, this time, more alleged insiders are speaking up, including former VH1 stylists, drivers, and even old friends. One DM claims that she always had a fallback plan in case she ever had to leave. She had leverage and secrets, and another Jimmy wasn't paranoid. He was tired and used to say, "If she leaves, I'll lose more than just love, I'll lose everything." Can you imagine living like that? Here's where it all comes together. Jim Jones's music slowed down after 2015. He stopped touring and dropping songs as frequently, and in his last unvarnished interview about love, he said, "Sometimes you stay because walking away feels like failure even when you know it's already over." That line sounds different now, doesn't it? It sounds like a man who stayed too long in a burning house and a son who watched the fire helplessly holding the ashes. The fans are divided. Some claim that Jim's son is just airing his personal problems to get attention, while others claim that he needed to reclaim his truth. The image of Chrissy as the devoted, affectionate, drama-fighting fiancée is crumbling, and underneath it lies a decade of secrets that could change everything we believe to be true. What comes next are lawsuits, apologies, and the inevitable damage control that is about to happen. But first, we must discuss the one thing that nobody anticipated: Jim's plans. Now that everything is public, you'll realize that was never just about love. It was survival. When the truth finally comes to light, you'll realize that some people weren't just surviving a relationship. They were trapped in a performance, a long-running show where, according to new insider claims, Jim Jones was prepared to leave several times, but every time he got close, something would mysteriously leak. A private conversation would appear on blogs, a fight would be captured on camera, an old feud would resurface, and guess who always had the perfect counter-narrative ready? According to a former stylist who worked with both of them, whenever Jim tried to back out, she would suddenly become the victim publicly. She was skilled at crying on camera before calling it quits. The source even detailed a specific moment backstage during a reunion special when Jim was quietly holding it together. Here's where it gets even messier. According to two alleged industry insiders, one from a former reality TV production team and another who claimed to be a talent manager, Chrissy had a backup plan the entire time. A second life. Not romantic but strategic, she allegedly had private meetings with executives about launching her own business. Chrissy walked in and said, "Don't forget what's on the line." He sat down and never spoke again after that. What does that mean? A version of Jim that the world could never forget? Now, of course, this is all alleged, but the timeline begins to look a little too clean, especially when you consider the most recent bombshell, an anonymous audio clip released 3 nights ago. The voice is heavily distorted, but what is said is crystal clear. "I told her, if you leak that tape, because she was the boss, the brand, the star, and if Jim didn't cooperate, she knew where the skeletons were buried, literally and figuratively. You're done, baby," she said. "I realized then that I was only an accessory. The internet is certain that the voice belongs to Jim, and that tape might be the rumored footage from that notorious 2014 hotel incident in Atlanta that was allegedly lost because, if what fans are figuring out is accurate, the footage wasn't lost. Rather, Chrissy Elteganons again hit it. But that's not all. Jim's son just posted something else. A cryptic story without words. Just an old family photo torn in half down the middle, with Jim on one side and the other side gone, and the caption, "Sometimes peace comes with loss." Fans are going crazy, DMing, tagging, and reposting in an attempt to determine whether indicates that Jim and Chrissy are officially done. In a surprise interview clip from an upcoming podcast episode, Mama Jones says, "I've been told, y'all. She wasn't right, but y'all said I was crazy. I'm not crazy. I just saw the devil." Chrissy's next move is reportedly already in the works. She's reportedly shopping around a new deal, a tell-all documentary where she controls the narrative, and finally speaks her truth. If that's not damage control, I don't know what is, but the people aren't buying it. Not after hearing what Jim's son had to say, not after watching years of silence now break into chaos, and especially not after what came next. Behind the diamonds, She says, "Have you ever watched your child fall in love with a storm?" He danced in the lightning, thinking it was a light show, but that storm was never going to stop it. It just waited until he was too tired to run. Mama Jones doesn't hold back, claiming that Chrissy made family dinners feel like interrogations and isolated Jim from his family. She even suggests that Chrissy threw away letters that Jim wrote to his late friend Stack Bundles, which for fans who are aware of Jim's past, hits hard. Now we have Jim's son, Mama Jones, alleged former staff, and anonymous insiders all singing the same chorus. Chrissy wasn't the victim, she was the puppeteer, and Jim just a loyal heart. The internet is clamoring for answers, and hashtags like Chewy Free Jim Jones Chin Chrissy Exposed and Family First are flooding timelines, fan-made timelines, charts, receipts, and detailed breakdowns of when the relationship soured and why Jim remained silent. Even celebrities are weighing in, with rapper Mayo tweeting, "Ain't no real one going to let his family drown in silence. Salute the son for stepping up." Reality star Kim Bella commented on a Shade Room post, and legendary producer Swizz Beatz liked a fan comment that said, "Jim deserved more than staged love and real pain, so what?" Now? According to some insiders, Jim is already in negotiations to release statement, possibly in the form of music. Rumor has it that he has recorded an entire EP called Red Flags and Roses, all pain, all truth, all him, and he plans to release it without any prior notice, promotion, or announcement, just his raw emotions straight to streaming. The streets are prepared because, for the first time, Jim may be done playing the role of the quiet ride or die. He may finally be ready to tell his life story uncut, unfiltered, and unchained. Documentary or another passive-aggressive Instagram post. Only time will tell, but one thing is certain. The house of cards is collapsing. What appeared to be black love goals on TV is being revealed as emotional warfare behind the scenes, and the people involved are no longer hiding this story. In fact, it's just getting started because for every eye, another truth emerges and claws its way out, leaving us, the viewers, wondering what else they have been hiding. After all, if Chrissy could have planned all of this in plain sight, what else did she bury behind the scenes? What else did Jim give up for loyalty? And most importantly, what would you do if you discovered that the love you built your life on was never about love at all? Was it fame, control, or just survival while wearing Gucci? Share your thoughts below because we need to talk about this. Is Jim finally waking up? Is the son being brave or messy? Is Chrissy the villain or a victim of spin? Click the like button, subscribe for the next drop, and keep your notifications turned on because you already know that the next chapter of this story will be even more bizarre. There will be more audio, leaked texts, and more. If you thought was explosive, wait until you see what comes next. Now that the mask is off and the truth is showing through, do you think Chrissy was ever really for Jim? Or was this all one long, painful performance? Or did Jim's son just say what we've all been thinking for years? Is this the end of a toxic love story? Or is this the beginning of a long overdue reckoning? Please share your thoughts, opinions, and conspiracy theories in the comments section below. Do you think Mama Jones will finally speak out through music?